Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's talk about confirmation bias. It's kind of similar to groupthink. Confirmation bias, the way I see it, is like putting a filter over your lens. You know, the way, I don't know if cell phones are that way now. You can have a filter that you digitally add. It used to be where you had an actual filter that you would screw on to the end of your lens on your camera. And there were many different types of filters that would have different effects. And whenever you look through the viewfinder, you're seeing the world through that filter, through that effect. Usually it would limit certain types of light to create a certain type of effect. And there's several different types of light. Now we can do this through our cell phones. I do a lot of photo editing on my cell phone. I can create some pretty cool photos just on my cell phone. And the filters that you use on your cell phone are very similar, where they just add or subtract different qualities of light, different colors, that kind of thing. Make things more contrasty, make them more vibrant, make them more dull. You know, all kinds of ways that you can do it. There's those silly filters that mostly young girls do when they're posting selfies to their Facebook or Instagram, where they want to smooth out their skin so it looks like they have no blemishes. And there's a filter. You can just push a button for that. You know, you just find the filter. And it looks so obvious and like they've put on too much makeup or turned themselves into a cartoon. But I look at confirmation bias basically as we are putting a filter on our lens, and we view the world through that filter. We do this in order to make sense of the world, because the world is a confusing place, and our brain has this kind of natural tendency to try and make sense of everything around us, even if it's not an accurate assessment, because our brain doesn't like unknowns. We get anxiety when there's an unknown. So we will make sense of something. Your mind will turn shadows into, creatures that could scare you. But for some reason, your brain is less satisfied with not knowing what's in the dark. So it'll oftentimes just grab images, search its memory banks for something that is similar, and say that shadow is a bear. And when you're camping, you may see some shadowing over in the trees, and you're like, shit, that's a bear. Turns out it's not a bear. It's just the shadow, and your mind was playing tricks on you. This is all about perception. Your confirmation bias is a level of perception of how you perceive the world. And we're all looking for a level of confirmation bias to have a certain twist that on everything that we see, feel, experience, hear, on everything that we absorb, in order to kind of make sense of the world and to make us feel safe in the world, familiar in the world. Familiarity is safety. It's kind of hard to avoid. I mean, some of this we can lead into groupthink. This leads us in a few different areas, and we've talked about groupthink and the harms of it. Confirmation bias is psychologically just natural. All animals do it. But you want to be aware of it. And this is the beauty of being human, is we're smarter than everything else on the planet. We can be aware of our own behavior. Self-awareness is an aspect of self-mastery. An idiot is not self-aware. They're just looking out into the world and reacting. A wise person is self-aware. And it's very easy for us to fall into a trap, a rut with our thinking. To forget that we have a filter on, and that we're absorbing all this information in order to fit a narrative that makes us feel safe and comfortable, that fits what we know. We may have made decisions, we may have beliefs, we may have made decrees about the world. This is the way the world works. And this is what we've always known. And this image of the outside world, what's outside our brains, is usually just our own perception, right? And as we absorb things into our head, we're trying to put those blocks into place, however desperately we can. So this is why when you see a story on the news and I see a story on the news, we both saw the same story, the same newscasters say it. We both watched the same video. We could come away from it with a different perception because we both have filtered that information differently to try to put those blocks in their place inside our minds. This is what confirmation bias is all about. This is how people can watch the news, and through their confirmation bias, they can fit everything to be a part of a narrative. I've seen this with racist skinheads, which I've known a few. These guys have this filter over their head of racism, of hatred. And everything, we can just walk down the street and be a beautiful day with birds chirping. And I'm sitting here enjoying the weather. This motherfucker is going through a world of hate, seeing everything and putting it into these blocks to fit this narrative, for this confirmation bias. And on every experience saying, see, it's motherfuckers like that I don't like. And I'll just, you could just be sitting there just like, well, I missed that. Wait, what? What are you going through right now? What's going on? This happens on your sofa. You could be going through this on a nightly basis as you sit on your sofa, scrolling your headlines on your laptop or watching TV, however you absorb your information. And through your confirmation bias, you're just cherry picking and placing, like a little game of Jenga, placing everything into place so it makes sense in your little world. And you may see this world as a very dangerous place, and everything you see and focus on fits that narrative. And it's very hard to break somebody out of that kind of triggered reaction to the world when they have that filter of fear on their lens. Everything is going to reinforce the narrative. And they only see the bad. You ever tell somebody something good, or just notice something, oh, look, it's raining, we need rain. That's beautiful. And they'll find the bad in it. Well, it'll probably be a hurricane, or something. The roof will probably leak. There's people that will always figure out a way to turn something. This is, again, they have a certain level of confirmation bias, and they're trying to fit a narrative in their head. Some people do this with the opposite. I mean, it's not always just good and bad. It could be left and right. It could be political with liberalism or conservatism. And if you're on one extreme of the left or one extreme of the right, everything you see is either left or right. Everything you see is in this us against them tribal mentality. Everything is their fault. See, that's why the country's going to shit. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's going all around you. And why can't other people see it? Because they're not walking around with the same filter, the same confirmation bias that you have. This is all just important to be aware of. I like to talk about self-awareness because we can catch ourselves in bad habits. Catch yourself not just being brainwashed by the media or your friends with groupthink, but catch yourself brainwashing yourself through that filter that you consciously put on there. What kind of filter do you have? One way to find out is to start thinking about how you see the world. Try and be an observer for a minute. It's hard to do sometimes, especially for people that aren't used to it. I've gotten better at it, and I've been practicing this for the better part of 20 years. But, we have a position of experiencing the world. We're lost in the experiencer, the realm of the experiencer. It's happening to me. And then you can kind of be like a drone above the treetops and kind of catch the landscape, and you can be the realm of the observer and kind of observe thing. It's a slight level of detachment, and it takes a little practice. Stoicism will bring you to this, because Stoicism, the philosophy of Stoicism, helps you to master your emotions through a slight detachment. Not unhealthy. You don't become a robot, but you can witness yourself becoming angry. Realize, okay, I'm really fucking angry. Label it, anger. This guy's angry. And the only reason why you do that is so you can experience for a second, just that brief moment, a detachment, and you become the observer, and you can experience yourself. I've been able to do this and kind of control my emotions better. Realize in the moment what's going on with me, how I'm misbehaving or misunderstanding something. I can notice with this type of practice of becoming the observer that I have a filter over my eyes. You may not know. You may have gotten used to it. So that's why it's just good practice to stay in control of your emotions and become higher than the experiencer. You're the observer, and you can observe yourself going through emotions, that roller coaster ride, and control yourself in a much more powerful way. And you can break beyond this confirmation bias and stop seeing the world in a twisted, limited, narcissistic way. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. It's all food for thought. Thanks for watching.